Moving on, Pakistan, which has failed miserably at subverting peace in India through its proxy war, is now relying on drugs to destabilize the nation. To support and finance its nefarious activities, it is trying to push in drugs to facilitate terrorism in India. The Indian security forces, however, from time and again buzz such narcotics terror modules. We have a report.
Baramulla in Kashmir, Bikaner in Rajasthan, Mundra Port in Gujarat. These images of drug seizures in 3 Indian states along the Pakistan border are the latest examples how Pakistan-based narco-terrorist networks have stepped up their activities and making incessant efforts to pave way for narco-terrorism in India with an aim to turn the country into drug haven. Unable to disrupt peace through its nefarious designs of sending terrorists and weapons, Pakistan has stepped up its another dangerous trend of pushing narcotics and drug money in the country. Recently, Pakistan's narco-terror operations received a major jolt when Indian security forces seized a large drug shipment of around 30 kilograms worth $2.7 to $3.3 million in Baramulla district of Jammu and Kashmir.
ज़ब्ती में जो हमारे सामने आया है कि कुछ बैग्स थे, बैकपैक्स, कुछ गनी बैग्स भी थे, सीमेंट बैग्स जिनके ऊपर पाकिस्तानी मार्किंग्स हैं। इसके अलावा कुछ और वहाँ पे जैसे कार्टन्स वगैरह मिले जिनमें पाकिस्तानी मार्किंग्स हैं। और इसके अलावा जो काउंटरबैंड है जिसकी मिकदार तकरीबन 25 से 30 किलो है, उसकी वहाँ पे जो है सीजर हुआ है। इसका करंट वैल्यूएशन जो है 20 से 25 करोड़ के बीच में बताया जा रहा है।
To keep its terror machine running, Pakistan has been using narcotics as a major financing tool. Several drug smuggling attempts in the Kashmir Valley have been thwarted in recent months. Last year, Jammu and Kashmir police had seized 21 kilogram heroin and 1.34 crore Indian currency, that is 180,000 US dollars, total worth over 26.8 million US dollars from the possession of Lashkar-e-Taiba operatives. This rising narcotics trade is the latest threat in Jammu and Kashmir, which has been decades-long cross-border terrorism.
Pro-Pakistani elements in Kashmir have virtually run out of money, and it is money that makes them air run. To ensure that they have adequate supply of money, they are now resorting to pushing in drug money and narcotics through the international border, line of control, Nepal and Bangladesh. Recently, large-scale hideouts have been busted. Huge quantums of drugs have been recovered. It's a very, very serious threat, and India must go flat out to ensure that Pakistan's evil designs do not succeed under any circumstances whatsoever.
Not only Kashmir, but also other Indian states along the border with Pakistan have witnessed a spike in narcotic seizures in recent years, particularly of high-value drugs like heroin. These narcotics are being pumped into big Indian metropolitan cities to generate revenue and fund their terror operations and recruitment. It has emerged as a profitable venture for Pakistan's state sponsorship of cross-border terrorism, which has suffered in the recent past due to freezing of bank accounts of terror leaders and dismantling of Hawala money laundering networks.
The recent seizures, the uptick in narcotics found in Kashmir, as well as the port in Gujarat, are absolutely nothing new. For a long time, Pakistan has financed a lot of its terrorism through the narco trade. This is what Pakistan does. So they've tried this thing in the past. There's a reason that Punjab has a big drug problem. There is a reason that stone pelters in Kashmir were usually brought out with the promise of drugs. So it's been a very common thing where they use drugs as the soft way to come in, and then they use all the networks that they build and the compromised people there to build up terror supply and support networks. So we should be taking this very, very seriously, because an uptick means that something is eventually going to happen in about a year or 2 years' time. They're preparing for something big.
Located near one of the largest areas of illicit opium production, the Golden Crescent, India has long figured as an important transit point in the international drug trade. After the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, there is now concern that there could be a surge in drug smuggling. The seizure of a huge consignment of nearly 3,000 kilograms of refined heroin from Mundra port in Gujarat on September 16 confirms a massive narco-terrorism threat originating from Afghanistan. This is Gujarat's largest drug bust since 2017, when 1,500 kilograms of heroin was seized by the Coast Guard.
As far as Afghanistan goes, see, this is a very important part. You remember how when the Taliban ruled the last time, Pakistan used to use Afghanistan as its sort of plausible deniability, which is to say, terrorism would originate from Afghanistan, they would blame Afghanistan for it, and they would wash their hands of it, like the IC-814 hijacking. And this is exactly what they will do with drugs today. They will say, look, we have no role in the drug trade. This is all coming from Afghanistan. This is an Afghan-India problem. It isn't a Pakistan problem. So please deal with Afghanistan. They'll just pass the buck away and not suffer any consequences. If sanctions happen, it'll only happen on Afghanistan and not on Pakistan. So this is a classic, textbook example of how the Pakistanis play generally.
Be it deadly terror attacks, cross-border fighting, or indulging into narco-terrorism, Islamabad has not differed itself from anti-Indian activities. A country that barely has enough to feed its own citizens is busy aiding and sponsoring terror groups to carry out terrorist activities in India. This is not only a security threat to India, but to the entire South Asia region.